I was celebrating my 21st birthday at a local bar with friends when my mother suddenly walked in wearing a full wedding dress. Her hair was done in bridal curls, her makeup was professionally styled, and she looked like she was about to walk down the aisle, except no one was getting married. First, my friends thought it was a joke. I wished it was. When the cake arrived, she rushed over, blew out the candles before I could, then clapped loudly for herself. Everyone stared. I tried to laugh it off and moved to the dance floor with one of my friends, but my mother shoved my friend aside and grabbed me instead. I pulled away, and that's when she screamed so loud the band stopped playing. She grabbed my ear, scolding me like a child and saying I was embarrassing her on her big day. I don't know what snapped her out of it, but suddenly she realized the entire bar was staring in dead silence. The owner stepped in and physically pushed her outside while she continued yelling. But that was only the surface of years of disturbing behavior. Growing up, I was the youngest and the only boy, which meant my mother never stopped treating me like a baby. When I was 17, she tried to spoon-feed me. When I refused, she accused me of abandoning her emotionally. She would whine, guilt-trip, and then gaslight me when I didn't cave. Everything was about her. Holidays, birthdays, even my achievements somehow became reflections of her greatness. People called her behavior a queen mother complex. She expected to be worshipped without ever lifting a finger. Even my birthdays became celebrations of her motherhood instead of my life. Her behavior crossed into deeply uncomfortable territory. When she was 45, she started loudly discussing cosmetic surgery. Facelifts, implants, in front of me, always giving me side glances. My dad refused to fund it, which led to screaming matches where she painted herself as the victim. One of the most humiliating moments happened in church. She followed me to the front and tried to feed me communion bread like I was a toddler, whispering for me to chew slowly. I was 22. I walked out of the church and didn't return. That was my breaking point. I moved out and rented a room at a friend's parents' house for $200 a month. While I packed, she begged me to stay, crying hysterically. I told her I was her son, not her husband, and that I deserved my own life. She ran away sobbing. For months we didn't speak. I later found out she was telling relatives I'd come crawling back. When I didn't, she lost it. Even after I became an adult, she continued treating me like a child in public. She'd grab my arm and try to drag me outside to whisper at me like I was misbehaving. I resisted every time, even throwing her off when she wouldn't let go. Once, she dug her nails into my shoulder, and I slapped her hand away. After that, she shifted to emotional manipulation. At a family party, she loudly talked about how I used to breastfeed and said she wished she could still make me do it, right in front of my aunt. My aunt looked disgusted. When I refused to entertain her, my mother declared herself the matriarch and demanded obedience. I calmly reminded her I didn't live with her anymore. For the first time ever, family members backed me up. She screamed and stormed out. I thought that was the worst it would get. I was wrong. If you think a mother embarrassing her son at a bar is bad, wait until you hear what she did when I tried to leave the state. I had a girlfriend I really liked. We'd been together a few months, and she wanted to meet my family. I warned her about my mother, but she assumed I was exaggerating. She wasn't prepared. From the moment they met, my mother was cold and passive-aggressive. I overheard her telling a relative that my girlfriend was stealing her baby. Later, while cutting a cake, she stared at my girlfriend while holding a large knife, not threatening directly, but unsettling enough to make her uncomfortable. My girlfriend lasted a few weeks before deciding she couldn't live a life where my mother was involved. I didn't blame her. That's when I told my mother I was moving over 1,000 miles away. She exploded. She grabbed onto me, saying she wouldn't allow it. I pushed her off and told her she had no power over my life. Saved for years. I bought a truck and a camper and lived out of it while working a simple job in Northern California. For 2 years I kept no contact with my family. Eventually I met someone new, the woman I'm still with today. We're not interested in marriage or kids, and we're happy that way. In 2016, I broke no contact with my parents. I laid out clear boundaries. Treat me like an adult. Don't harass my girlfriend. Don't speak to me like a child or bring up my childhood. Thanksgiving came, and my mother violated all three. I told her I was done and not to contact me until she could respect me. She blocked the door and started quoting the Bible about honoring parents. I told her respect goes both ways. In December, she flooded me with calls, emails, and texts, begging me to come to Christmas, but not to bring my girlfriend. I said if she wasn't welcome, neither was I. My mother called my girlfriend an interloper, and claimed no woman should come between a mother and her son. Then she threatened self-harm. I told her she was responsible for her own body, but I would not be coming. I planned to spend Christmas with my girlfriend's family instead. She said I'd regret it. 2 days before Christmas, police kicked in the door of the small house my girlfriend and I were renting. They accused us of running a drug lab. We were handcuffed and interrogated while officers tore through our house, yard, vehicles, and camper. Sniffer dogs found nothing, just aspirin and my antidepressants. The police looked disappointed. It turned out my mother had called them. She gave extremely accurate details, meaning she had been stalking us. She accused me of using my camper to sell drugs. Breaking Bad anyone? They had no choice but to apologize and leave, but the damage was done, both emotionally and to our rental property. But karma wasn't finished. That same Christmas Day, my mother was arrested in front of my family. You won't believe how far she went to stalk me, or what the police found on her phone. My dad had no idea my mother had flown to my state. She told him she was taking a mental health vacation, and didn't say where she was going. In reality, she spent days following me and my girlfriend, taking photos of our home, our routines, and even our workplaces. She used a spare key hidden in a fake rock to break into our house and photograph everything, including the inside of my dresser drawers. That detail alone made my skin crawl. When she returned home, my dad said she looked smug, like someone who thought they'd won something. She was unusually cheerful, right up until police showed up at her Christmas party and arrested her. She cried, claimed innocence, and insisted she'd done nothing wrong. Police found everything on her phone. Photos of our home, our belongings, our schedules, and the call she made to report me was traced directly to her number. When confronted, she broke down and refused to stand. Officers had to physically move her. No one bailed her out, she had to use her own money. She believed she could talk her way out of it and insisted on representing herself in court, firing her lawyer when he advised her to plead guilty. That went exactly how you'd expect. My girlfriend and I flew back to testify. My mother stared at me constantly, alternating between pleading and rage. On the stand, she delivered a speech about how I needed to be taught a lesson for choosing a woman over her. She said she should have been the only woman I ever needed. The judge repeatedly told her to stop staring at me. I left before sentencing, but my dad told me what happened next. The judge acknowledged she was mentally unwell. She exploded, screaming that she was completely sane. That only convinced him further. My dad stood up and said if she truly cared about me, she wouldn't have tried to turn her son into a substitute husband or frame him for crimes. That made her lose control. Guards had to separate them. The judge sentenced her to 2 years in prison. She threw a toddler-level tantrum, pounding her fists, crying and refusing to walk. Guards carried her out of the courtroom. My dad said the next 2 years without her were the most peaceful of his life. But prison wasn't the end. What happened after she was released destroyed her entire family. While my mother was in prison, my dad finally had clarity. He realized how toxic their marriage had been, not just for him but for everyone around her. He decided he would divorce her the moment she was released. And that's exactly what he did. The day she came home, he handed her divorce papers and left the house. He moved into his Airstream trailer, parked at a friend's place, and started rebuilding his life. During the divorce process, more disturbing truths surfaced. Family members came forward with recordings of creepy things my mother had said. My sisters testified about her behavior. Then it came out that she had cheated on my father multiple times with different men, some of whom came forward with proof. The judge eventually refused to let her drag out the divorce any longer. My dad didn't want the house. He gave it to her in exchange for a clean split and no alimony. Both were retired, so the court agreed. He moved closer to me, parking his Airstream along the west coast. He told me he spends his evenings sipping tea and watching the waves, happier than he's ever been. My mother didn't handle the divorce well. She tried to manipulate, guilt, and intimidate, but it didn't work. Almost the entire family distanced themselves from her. She was left alone in the old family home. And that's where she still is. But she wasn't done trying to control me. Not even after prison, divorce, and total isolation. After everything she'd done, the stalking, the framing, the humiliation, my mother still tried to contact me. I called. She cried. She claimed she was in therapy. I told her she should have gone years ago. I told her she couldn't undo what she'd already done. She said she just wanted her son back. I told her this was the result of her own actions. She cried and hung up. I haven't spoken to her since. Meanwhile, my relationship with my dad has healed. He apologized for not protecting me sooner. He cried. He owned his mistakes. That meant everything to me. I reconnected with my siblings and extended family. They admitted they'd known something was wrong for years but didn't realize how bad it was. Many of them apologized. It felt like I finally had a real family, one that respected me. My life now is calm, peaceful, quiet. No screaming, no manipulation, no control. And that peace is priceless. But here's what I learned from surviving a psychopathic parent, and why I'd do it all again if I had to. Living with a parent who sees you as property instead of a person changes you. You learn to doubt yourself. You learn to minimize your pain. You learn to tolerate things no one should. For years I thought I was overreacting. I thought I was the problem. I thought family meant enduring abuse. Doesn't. Family means safety. Family means respect. Family means freedom. The moment I stopped trying to fix my mother was the moment I finally started healing myself. Cutting her off wasn't cruel. It was necessary. And while some people might say, "But she's your mother," I say, no one gets a lifetime pass to hurt you. Not even the person who gave birth to you. My life today isn't perfect, but it's mine. I make my own choices. I love who I love. I live where I want. I wake up without fear. That's freedom. And freedom is worth everything I lost to gain it. If you've ever felt trapped by a toxic parent, just know there is a way out. And it starts with choosing yourself.